They called her the most beautiful princess in Europe, but beauty in the Tudor world was no shield. It was a weapon, one that others wielded. Her crown would last only 3 months. Her love would spark outrage at the English court, and her choice would echo all the way to Lady Jane Grey. This is the tale of Mary Tudor, Henry VIII's sister, Queen of France for a season, and the woman who risked everything for her heart. Mary Tudor was born in March 1496, the youngest surviving daughter of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. She grew up surrounded by splendor, music, tutors, silks, and the endless display of royal ceremony. Her brother Henry, just 4 years older, adored her. They laughed, played, studied side by side. He called her "my dearest sister." Courtiers whispered she was his favorite. But affection was fragile currency in the Tudor world. Royal daughters were not daughters at all. They were bargaining chips. And one day soon, Mary would be moved across the board, and unlike her golden brother, Mary would not be allowed to choose her fate. By 1514, Henry VIII was king. England and France had been enemies for generations, wars of pride, blood, and ambition. But peace was now on the table, and the price was Mary Tudor. She was 18. Her groom, King Louis XV of France, was 52, aging, frail, already twice married, but desperate for an heir. Mary begged Henry not to force the match. She wept when the truth sank in. Her heart already belonged to Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk, her brother's closest friend. But no tears could alter politics. For the good of England, she was to be sacrificed. In October, Mary sailed to France. She glittered in cloth of gold, jewels dazzling, crowds calling her la plus belle princesse du monde, the most beautiful princess in the world. But beneath the jewels, she was a prisoner. As Queen of France, Mary's youth and beauty turned every head. She danced, smiled, shone like sunlight in a darkened hall. But Louis XV was failing. Obsessed with securing an heir, he exhausted himself trying. On New Year's Day, 1515, 3 months after their wedding, the king was dead. Mary, not yet 19, was a widow, Queen of France for one fleeting season, and the whispers began immediately. Would she marry Charles of Castile? Would France and England barter her once again? But Mary Tudor had already made a secret bargain with her brother before leaving England. If she became a widow, she could choose her next husband, and she had already chosen. The man she chose would ignite one of the greatest scandals of Henry's reign. Henry sent Charles Brandon to escort his sister home, his most trusted companion, his closest friend. The moment Mary saw him, she acted. "If you will not wed me now," she told him, "I shall never wed at all." It was an ultimatum: defy the king or lose her forever. And in secret, on French soil, they married. A princess of England and a duke who owed his life and fortune to her brother. It was love triumphant, but treason in the eyes of the crown. When news reached Henry, fury shook the court. His sister had shamed him. His best friend had betrayed him. Execution for Brandon was no idle threat. But Mary knew her brother's heart. Together they knelt, begging forgiveness. Henry raged, but he loved his sister too deeply to destroy her. Instead, he punished them in gold. The fines were crippling. Much of Mary's dowry was seized, but her life and her marriage were spared. She had defied the king and survived. Back in England, Mary lived not as a queen, but as Duchess of Suffolk. She filled her halls with music and laughter, raising 4 children with Charles Brandon. But the storms of the Tudors never ceased. She watched her once golden brother transform into a tyrant. She opposed Anne Boleyn, siding with Catherine of Aragon, and for the first time, she fell from favor. By 1533, Mary's health was failing. That same year, Henry married Anne. England tore itself apart in religious upheaval. Mary did not live to see its outcome. At just 37 years old, she died quietly in her bed. Her brother grieved, but his kingdom, as always, moved on. Yet Mary's choice would not be forgotten. Through her marriage to Charles Brandon, she became grandmother to Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen. Her line would again be thrown into England's savage battles for power. History remembers Henry for his 6 wives. It remembers Elizabeth as the Virgin Queen. But Mary Tudor, Henry's beloved sister, is remembered for something rarer. Not for bloodshed, not for politics, but for courage. She was the Tudor who dared to love, the princess who traded thrones for her heart. And though her crown lasted months, the legacy of her choice made her immortal.